Hi, it's John Vu, and today's lesson is on Fever by the Black Keys from the Trinity College London Grade 1 Drums Rock and Pop syllabus. So Fever was the lead single from the Black Keys' 8th album, Turn Blue, which was released in 2014. So looking at the sheet music, in the top left, you've got the song title, Fever, and then beneath that, you've got intro, which is just letting you know the first section of the song is the intro. Underneath that, you've got some information about the song that you need. So you've got the style, first of all, so it says rock. So this is a rock piece, so we're playing rock music. Then next to that, you've got the tempo. So it says a crotchet or a quarter note equals 116. So that means the song tempo is 116 beats per minute, and each beat is a quarter note or a crotchet. And then also, next to that, you've got 1.5 bars counting. So that's letting you know when you play this with a backing track, you're going to hear a 1.5 bars of counting. So you're going to hear 1, 2, 1, 2, and then the other half of the bar is when you're going to start playing. Because if you look beneath that, we've got our first bar, and you can see the clef, first of all, the percussion clef, just letting you know that it's percussion notation or drum notation that we're going to be reading on the stave. And then next to that, you've got your time signature. So you've got 4/4 for this piece. So the top number being 4 tells you there's 4 beats in the bar. So each bar is going to be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we count up to 4. And the bottom number being 4 tells you each beat is a quarter note or a crotchet. Okay, so those beats you're feeling that you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, they are quarter notes or crotchets. Okay, so first of all, looking at that first bar, we can see it's not a full bar, so there's only 4 eighth notes in the bar or 4 quavers. Okay, so that's half a bar of 4/4 because we count quavers 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so if you've got 4 there, that's only 1 and 2 and. So, as that's not a full bar, what it's known as is an anacrusis or a pickup bar or a pickup. Okay, so that's what leads us into the first downbeat of the song. Okay, so sometimes we don't just want to start like cleanly on the 1, we kind of want to lead into the 1. So that's what an anacrusis does, or a pickup bar. Okay, so that's why you've got a 1.5 bars counting, because you're going to hear 1.5 bars and then you're going to play those 4 eighth notes or those 4 quavers for the other half of that bar. Okay, so you're going to have a bar counting, half a bar counting, and then you're going to play the other half that's going to lead into the first downbeat of the song. Okay, so first of all, let's just try playing those 4 eighth notes or those 4 quavers in time with the metronome. So we're going to leave the 1 and 2 because we're going to obviously hear that when we listen to the counting, and then we're going to play on the 3 and 4, those 4 eighth notes or those 4 quavers. Okay, 3 and 4 and. So they're just single strokes on the snare drum. Okay, so just right, left, and beneath the bar you can see with dynamic we need to play this at, and it's an F, which is short for forte, which means loud. Okay, so you're really going to play these with some nice punchy energy. All right, so 3 and 4 and. So we're going to hear 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Okay, so we're going to play that bar 4 times with a metronome at the song tempo, which is 160 beats per minute, just to get used to coming in on that 3. So after that anacrusis or that pickup bar, it leads us into the groove of the song. Okay, so that's the first downbeat, the first one. All right, so we can see the groove there. So we've got 2 rhythms written in the second bar, which is the bar after the anacrusis. You've got eighth notes or quavers on the hi-hat. So you're going to be playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with the right hand. And underneath that rhythm, you've got crotchets or quarter notes, which are alternating between the bass and the snare drum. So you've got a bass on the 1, snare on the 2, bass on the 3, and a snare on the 4. So you're going to be playing that whilst playing your quavers or your eighth notes on the hi-hat. Okay, so let's just try and play that groove. So obviously it's a groove you played before, but let's just try and play it with the energy of the song. So playing it in forte and also at the tempo of the song, which is 160 beats per minute. So it's pretty quick, all right? So you're going to make sure you're relaxed and it's sounding solid and consistent. Every bar sounds the same, right? So you want to make sure all those notes are in the right place, but they're also at the right dynamic. So we're not kind of changing dynamic. We're playing some notes louder than others and things like that. We don't want that, okay? We need nice and consistent. And also, there's some performance tips for this song, and you want to make sure when you're playing the groove, when you strike the hi-hat, you just want to be playing with the tip of the stick, okay, to get that authentic sound that the drummer from the Black Keys gets, Patrick Carney, okay? So he kind of gets that nice clean sound from playing with the tip of his stick. So let's try that groove. Just try and incorporate those things, the dynamics, the subdivision, and the way of playing, right? Those performance tips. Let's bring that in 4 times through that groove in time with the metronome. So looking back at the sheet music, we've got that bar that we've just played in the second bar, which is the bar after the anacrusis, and then the bar following that, we've got a 1 bar repeat symbol. So that means repeat the previous bar, which is the groove we just played, okay? And then if we look at the following bar, we've got another 1 bar repeat, and then if we look at the next bar, which is the last bar on the line, we've got another 1 bar repeat, okay? And above that final 1 bar repeat on that line, you've got a number 4 written in brackets above it. So the reason we have that is often in drumming we play a groove and we repeat it, okay? We repeat the same bar quite a few times, and it's hard to keep track of it when we read sheet music. So what tends to happen is, because often as musicians we play 4 bar cycles or 4 bar phrases, we can naturally feel that 4th bar. So when you're playing that groove and you're repeating it, you'll naturally feel the 4th time you play it. So then you can look at the sheet music and you can see exactly where you are, because you know where the 4th bar is of that groove, okay? So it's just there to help you keep count of the repeats, to know where you are with the music. Because if it wasn't there and you just had loads of 1 bar repeat symbols, it'd be hard to know exactly where you are and how many times you played the groove, okay? So it's just there to help us keep count. So we've got to play that groove 4 times in the top line. So we've got our anacrusis, we come in on the 3 on the snare drum, so we've got our 3 and 4 and then we're straight into the groove, and we're going to play the groove for 4 bars, okay? So that's our top line. So we're going to try that now with the metronome. So obviously we're going to hear the 1, 2, and then we're going to play the 3 and 4, and then we're going to play the groove for 4 bars. Let's try that in time with the metronome now. So now we come into line 2, where the groove changes up quite a bit. So we've got a 2 bar groove for this line. So if we look at the first bar of the line first of all, which is bar 5, we can see we've still got those quavers or those 8th notes on the hi-hat, and we've still got a crotchet rhythm or a quarter note rhythm underneath it, but we're playing bass and snare drum together now. Okay, so to get a feel for that, what we're going to do is break it down a little bit first of all. So we're going to play those quavers or those 8th notes on the hi-hat, and we're just going to get used to playing the crotchets on the snare first of all, right? So just hitting all those downbeats on the snare drum. So we're going to be playing 1, 2, 3, 4 with the left hand on the snare drum, and we're going to be playing those quavers with the right hand. Okay, so quavers or 8th notes here, right hand on hi-hat, crotchets or quarter notes with the left hand on the snare drum. So just get a feel for that first of all. We're just going to try that 4 times through, 4 bars of that in time with the metronome, okay? Just getting used to that, just lining our hands up. It's just the 2 hands first of all. So now we've got used to that, a bit more comfortable doing that, we're going to bring in the bass drum with the left hand, okay? So the bass drum is going to play the same time as the snare. And they've got to line up perfectly, all right? We don't want any flams. We want to make sure the bass drum and snare are right in unison, right at the same time. And obviously they're going to line up with every other hi-hat as well. So obviously the hi-hat's playing twice as many notes, but every other one, they're all going to line up together. So you've got all three parts of the hi-hat, the snare drum and the bass drum together on the 1. Then you've got the and on the hi-hat, then all 3 again on the 2, then the and on the hi-hat, all 3 together on the 3, and on the hi-hat, all 3 together again on the 4 and on the hi-hat. So make sure when all 3 parts of the kit play together, like I said, they're right in time together, right in unison, all right? So that's what we need to do when we practice this part, all right? So obviously make sure it's nice and clean, and we'll try it 4 times through again, okay? So 4 bars of that, just working that nice, clean sound that we're after, all right? So let's give that a try. So now looking at the second bar of this groove, so this bar is a little bit different. It starts off the same, but it changes on the 3rd beat. So you can see you've got quavers or 8th notes on the bass drum here, which kind of makes it a bit trickier to play. So what we'll try first of all is we'll try just hitting those quavers or those 8th notes on the bass drum on the 3. Alright, so we're going to play our hands again. So we're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the snare drum I was playing those quavers or those 8th notes on the hi-hat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're just going to hit the quavers or the 8th notes on the bass drum on the 3, so that 3 and. Okay, so we got the same thing going on here, and we're just playing the 3 and on the bass drum. Okay, the 3 and the 3. So let's just get used to hitting those 8th notes or those quavers, and again we'll try it 4 times through. Alright, so now you got used to hitting the 8th notes or the quavers on the bass drum. We're going to bring in the 1 and the 2 as well. So you're going to hit the 1 and the 2 on the bass drum, and then you're going to play the quavers or the 8th notes on the 3. So you got 1, 2, 3 and on the bass drum. Okay, and obviously the same thing with the hands. Quavers or 8th notes on the hi-hat, crotchets on the snare drum. So let's try that 4 times through the metronome. And then bringing in the final note, which is the bass drum on the 4. Okay, so you've got the whole bar now, so the second bar of line 2, quavers on the hi-hat or 8th notes, crotchets on the snare drum or quarter notes, and then we've got our rhythm on the bass drum. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the bass drum. So you've got crotchet, crotchet, quavers, crotchet, or quarter note, 8th notes, quarter notes. So remember with the note names, so you've got the British names and the American names. So remember the British names, crotchets, quavers, semi-quavers, American equivalent names, quarter notes, 8th notes, 16th notes, all right? So you might have a preference, but it's always good, like I said, to know both, all right? So make sure you know both, and obviously when I'm saying both, you'll know which one I'm talking about, all right? So let's try that second bar of line 2 in time with the metronome now 4 times through. So as it's a 2-bar groove, we need to play the 2 bars together, all right, side by side. So we're going to try both bars, so bar 1 and then bar 2 of line 2, and we'll try it 4 times through, okay? Let's give that a try. So looking at the sheet music again, we can see those 2 bars we just played, so bars 5 and 6. Then after that, we've got a 2-bar repeat symbol. So that means repeat the previous 2 bars. So that 2-bar groove we've just played, we need to play again when we play it with the music. Okay, obviously we just practiced playing it 4 times through, and for the song we only need to play it twice. Okay, we play it through once and then we repeat it once. All right, so that's the whole intro. So we've got 2 lines there, and as you can see at the end of the second line, you've got that double bar line, which tells you there's a musical change that's going to follow, which obviously it's because we've come to the end of the intro. All right, so we're going to try the whole intro now in time with the metronome. So we're going to start with the anacrusis, the pickup bar on the 3, and then we're going to play our groove for 4 bars, then we're going to come into line 2 and play our 2-bar groove twice through. All right, let's give that a try. And now we're going to play the intro with the backing track, okay? So this is the fun bit, putting it to the music. All right, so remember you've got a 1.5 bar count in, and then you're going to play the other half of that bar, so the anacrusis or the pickup bar on the 3 and 4 and. So you're going to hear 1, 2, 1, 2, and then for the 3 and 4 you're going to play the pickup bar or the anacrusis, okay? 3 and 4 and then you're in with your groove. So remember you're at forte for the dynamics. So a lot of energy, and remember you want to play that just the tip of the stick on the hi-hat when you play that groove to make sure you get that authentic black key sound. This is a great track. It's got a great organ riff in there that sort of gives it a lot of energy. So as the drummer, you need to bring the energy as well. And remember, when you come into that second line, keep those hits clean. So that's those snare and bass drums. To make sure they're nice and lined up. All right, so exactly where they're supposed to be. So let's put it together, the whole intro, first 2 lines of the song in time with the backing track. So now coming into line 3, we've got our verse. You can see verse written above the first bar of the verse there. So at bar 9, and we've got the same groove that we had in the intro, okay? The first groove that we played. And then after that, we've got a lot of 1-bar repeats again. So if we look at the first line of the verse, we've got 3 1-bar repeats. So we're playing the groove 4 times for that line. And again, you can see the number 4 written above the last 1-bar repeat on that line to let us know it's the 4th time of playing that repeated groove. And then the line beneath, so at bar 13, we've got a whole line of 1-bar repeats. So we're still repeating that same groove. And we've got 8 1-bar repeats there, okay, on that line. So we're playing the groove collectively for those 2 lines. So we've got 4 times through the groove for the first line of the verse, and then another 8 times for the second line of the verse. So we've got it 12 times. So you can see you've got your 8th bar, so your 8th bar, well, your 8th time of playing the repeated groove numbered above the 1-bar repeat, and then you've got your 12th bar numbered as well. So again, they're multiples of 4, letting you know when you're feeling those 4th bars of the groove, that's where you are, okay? So you've got three lots of 4 bars. So, okay, so it just helps you keep count of it, because like I said, naturally you should feel the 4th time you play it. So then you can say, okay, I'm at the 4th bar, then the next time you feel that 4th bar, you're at the 8th bar of the groove, and the next time you feel that 4th bar, you know you're at the 12th bar of the groove. So that's why they're numbered there, just to make it easy for you to follow. Okay, then beneath that, so the next line of the verse, you've got a 2-bar groove. Now you've got the same bar we've just played for the first bar of that groove, and then in the second bar of the groove, you're changing up on the bass drum. So you're still playing a crotchet on the 1, and then you're playing a crotchet on the snare on the 2, and then on the bass drum you've got quavers or 8th notes on the 3, and then another crotchet or quarter note on the snare drum on the 4. All right, so you just got 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the bass and snare rhythm. Okay, so the 2-bar bass and snare rhythm is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's try that 2-bar groove 4 times through, and you've got those quavers or the 8th notes on the hi-hat as well. All right, so let's try that in time with the metronome. So again, looking at the sheet music, we can see that 2-bar groove we've just played in bars 21 and 22. Then after that, we've got a 2-bar repeat symbol. So that means repeat the previous 2 bars. So that's the 2-bar groove we just played. So we only need to play it twice, all right? So we just practice it through 4 times again, and then in the song, we only need to play it twice through. So we play it once, and then we repeat it once. All right, and again, you can see the double bar line at the end of the line, which tells you there's a musical change coming, and that's because that's the end of the verse. All right, so we've got a whole verse there. So let's try the whole verse in time with the backing track again. All right, so keep that groove solid and consistent, and then make sure when you change that 2-bar groove, it's a nice transition into the new groove. And again, we've got that 2-bar repeat, so we need to make sure we play that 2-bar groove twice through. All right, so let's try the whole verse in time with the backing track. And that brings us into the chorus. So line 6 of the song, and we've got the same 2-bar groove we've just played, but this time you can see above the bar it says trashy HH. So that means trashy hi-hat. So what you're going to do is just release your left foot a little bit on the pedal, the hi-hat pedal, okay? So it's still touching the pedal, your foot is still on the pedal, but we're just taking the pressure off. Okay, so the cymbals, the hi-hat cymbals will still be touching, but they won't be tightly closed, okay? They'll just be resting on each other, so there's room for movement now, okay? Which just gives it that trashy sound. Just brings a bit more energy, okay? It's just a bit louder. All right, so let's just try that 2-bar groove 4 times through, just getting used, well, just finding that point, that nice trashy point on the hi-hat, so we know how much pressure to apply. All right, so let's try that now in time with the metronome. Then if we look at the sheet music, we can see a start repeat symbol there. So that's letting us know there's going to be a phrase that's repeated from that point. So we've got the 2-bar groove that we just played. And there's also a crash symbol on the 1 of the first bar. Okay, so you can see how that X has gone higher. So it's got that ledger line through it, letting us know it's a crash symbol. So we start with a crash. Then we play through the 2-bar groove. We've got a 2-bar repeat. So we play the 2 bars again. Now, when you have a 1-bar repeat or a 2-bar repeat of a groove, we don't repeat the crash symbol at the start of the groove, okay? So we play the crash symbol on the 1 of the first bar, then we play the 2-bar groove through, and then when we come to the 2-bar repeat, we don't repeat the crash symbol, okay? So we just play the groove all on the hi-hat. So obviously it's a trashy hi-hat still, we just don't play the crash. All right, it's just like consensus in drumming that is the case. And if we did want to, well, if the music wanted us to crash, it would include just the crash marked out above the 2-bar repeat, okay? Just letting us know that they also want the crash to be repeated. But if it's not there, we assume the crash isn't repeated. So we play that 2-bar repeat without the crash symbol. And if we look at the last line, we've got another 2-bar repeat. And again, you won't include the crash symbol in that repeat. You just replace it with a trashy hi-hat. And then we've got another 2-bar repeat as well, okay? So we've got 3 2-bar repeats there. So we play through the 2-bar groove, starting with a crash, we repeat it without the crash, we repeat it again without the crash, and we repeat it again without the crash. So we're playing the 2-bar groove 4 times through, so that's 8 bars in total, and then we can see at the end of that last 2-bar repeat, we've got our closed repeat symbol. So that's the end of the repeated phrase. So we hit the end of that repeated phrase, and then we go back to the start of the repeat, all right? So obviously we're repeating what's in those, well, in the start repeat and the close repeat symbol. Now, when we repeat a phrase in those open and, well, the start and end repeat symbols, we do repeat the crash. Okay, so that crash we had at the start of the phrase. So the phrase is the 2-bar groove 4 times. When we come back and repeat the whole phrase, we do crash on the 1 again. All right, but we don't crash on the 2-bar repeats when we go through the whole repeated phrase. All right, so just to clear that up, we crash in, we've got our trashy hi-hat groove, it's a 2-bar groove, we repeat the 2 bars, we repeat the 2 bars again, we repeat the 2 bars, all those repeats don't have crashes on, and then when we come to the last time through that 2-bar repeat, we hit the end repeat and we go back to the start of the 8 bars, we crash, and then when we do the 2-bar repeats again, we don't crash. And then after we've repeated through the 8 bars, we finish with a crash in the last bar. So you can see that's the final bar because we've got our final bar line there. And we just got a crash for a crotchet or a quarter note and the bass drum with it as well. All right, and then we've got that loopy line just letting us know that we let the crash ring. And then we've got a crotchet rest or a quarter note rest on the 2. And the reason that last bar is only 2 beats long, so we've got 1 quarter note or 1 crotchet on the crash and bass drum and 1 quarter note or crotchet rest. That's only 2 beats, and obviously we're in 4/4, so we've got 4 beats in our bar. The reason it's only 2 beats is because of our anacrusis or our pickup bar. That's also 2 beats long. So those 2 bars together are a whole bar of 4/4. So we need to take into account the anacrusis with the last bar. So if the anacrusis is 2 beats long and we're in 4/4, the last bar is only 2 beats long. All right, they kind of, well, you have to kind of think of them together, the first bar and the last bar, because it's not really a first bar, the anacrusis, it's something leading into the first bar. So we just make sure they add up together to equal the amount of beats in the bar. All right, so we've got 2 beats in our anacrusis, 2 beats in our final bar, 2 plus 2 equals 4 beats, which is in agreement with our time signature of 4/4. It's got 4 beats in the bar. So that's the last section of the song, the chorus. So we're going to play all of that together now with the backing track. Let's give it a try.
Wouldn't leave you if I could. A fever. Fever 'cause I'm breaking. Fever got me aching. Fever, why won't you explain? Break it down again. Fever got me guilty. Just go ahead and kill me. Fever, why won't you explain? Break it down again.
So now we can play the whole piece. We're going to put it in time with the backing track. All right, so we've got our 1.5 bar counting and then our half bar anacrusis. So remember, we come in at forte, then we're in with the groove, our quaver groove on the hi-hat, quavers on the hi-hats, snare and bass, quarter notes or crotchets. We play that groove 4 bars, then we're into the second line where we've got our hits lining up on the snare and bass drum. All right, so that's a 2-bar groove that is, and then we repeat that groove. Then we're into the verse. We've got the same groove in the verse that we had in the intro, and we play that groove for 12 bars, and then we've got our 2-bar groove that we repeat. All right, and that brings us into the chorus. We crash into a trashy 2-bar groove in the chorus. We repeat those 2 bars, repeat those 2 bars again, and repeat those 2 bars again, and then we repeat the phrase. All right, so we crash back in, play those 8 bars again, and then we finish with a crash and bass drum. All right, so make sure all those transitions from sections are nice and smooth, and also we've got different grooves within the sections as well. We just need to make sure those transitions are smooth as well. So no unexpected accents, no change in subdivisions, so we need to make sure those quavers are nice and evenly spaced. And obviously make sure you get that authentic sound that the drummer of Black Keys, Patrick Carney, gets by playing with the tip of the stick on the hi-hat. Okay, so really incorporate that. And have fun, all right? It's a great track, loads of energy, that great organ riff that carries us through. So the drums and the organ line up beautifully to really carry the energy of the song. So make sure you're really blended in well with the other instruments. And yeah, have fun with it. Let's play it all in time with the backing track. So remember, when you practice the parts, we obviously played them at song tempo, but initially you want to start a bit slower, so bring the tempo down when you practice these parts to really get familiar with the rhythms and playing each part of the kit that needs to be played for each groove or fill. Alright, so bring the tempos down, and then as you get comfortable with the parts, obviously bring the tempo up gradually until you hit that song tempo. Once you're there and you're playing comfortably, that's when you want to start playing with the backing track, okay? So don't rush. I know it's exciting to play with the music, but you want to make sure you're ready to play with the music before you get there. Otherwise, you're just going to get frustrated, alright? So spend the time, obviously, learning the parts and getting comfortable with the parts first of all. That's so important, alright guys? So have fun with this, build it up slow, and once you're there, have fun with playing it to the backing track.